No trust at all. I've completely lost control of this ship. I don't care though, 'cause I'm very happy to be here.
Just happy to be part of the show. Happy to be along with the right.
Oh no.
Don't mind me. I'll be in the corner.
Welcome aboard the Funny Boat Podcast. There is no steering us back on course. I'm just going to run with it from now on. With me is the fabulous and furry-faced, the broker with the beard. How you doing, Ed?
I am doing fantastic, Captain Boomies. How about yourself?
I'm absolutely excellent. I'm so excited because this is take two.
Two, three, four.
Take 9.5. I don't know. It's one of these miracles of the modern world that we're talking to a couple of Scottish folk who happen to be in Tahiti. And I'm all the way here where it's much colder and uglier. And so I'm pretty disappointed in that, but also I'm kind of glad to be somewhere that my refrigerator is very close by and it's full of beer. Just full.
Hey, life goals. It's all about life goals. And I think you're winning. You're succeeding in life in every way. Yeah, it's rather warm.
So the adorable Scottish voices you're hearing is the crew of Sailing Red Seas. They are a fantastic YouTube channel. Absolutely one of my favorites. The accent is really fun. I'm into it. It's pervy, whatever.
Oh, no, stop. No, keep going. No, please.
And basically, these two redheads sail the world. They've gotten screwed over. They've gotten surfed over. They've gotten all kinds of things that go wrong. They've been bug riddled. just nightmare after nightmare.
You're really selling this.
I was going to say, like, in a healthy kind of way, not like a weird way.
But the secret to their success.
Yeah, self right in the world.
Well,
What an intro.
In my opinion,
you.
the secret to your success is how much fun you guys are. Just an absolute delight to watch every single time.
Yeah, I mean, your intro really has kind of, shone a light on exactly what we like and what we get up to. But that's kind of true. The way we started out, so much went wrong. We either were just going to can it in on day 3 and go home again and give up on that dream, or find a way to laugh about it. And laughing seemed to be what found us.
So for everybody who doesn't know your story, would you mind backing up and telling us all about the drama that was you guys getting a boat in the first place?
Oh, man. Okay. Well, absolutely. First things first, we are, as you say, Scottish. And when Scottish people get excited, angry, happy, ready to be polite, looking after you, we speak very fast and usually illegibly. So if we get excited or one of the above, we won't tell you which one it is. You have to guess. But also maybe you could do like subtitles or some kind of transcript and we'll figure it out from there.
It may not help, but
Yeah. Good luck trying to figure out what we're talking about.
There are people who only listen to the audio version. They're just screwed. Like, it's okay.
Yeah, that's it. Get to the description section or you're done. Yeah. Fly to Scotland. Maybe you could take a course. We decided to do what everyone does. We sold everything we had. We got one-way tickets to fly half around in the world, having had a Facebook conversation with some guy we didn't know who said he had a boat in an island we'd never heard of, and then kind of didn't scammed us.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment. This was in the middle of the pandemic, so when we arrived and he was like, oh yeah, by the way, I can't actually meet you because I'm in another country and it's illegal to travel or whatever. So good luck with that. First red flag.
Here's a photograph of the boat and we think it's in a marina, go find it. So yeah, we quarantined in St. Vincent and the Grenadines in the Caribbean. When we were first told the boat's in the Grenadines, we genuinely thought that might be somewhere near Spain. But turns out no. And then, so we flew across there, we quarantined in this hotel, we got out of quarantine, jumped in a cab and we're like, hey, take us to this boat. It's in this marina. And we got there, the guy pulled up and he spoke to somebody at the marina and they went, there's no boat of that description here. Like, Oh,
Well, this is off to a great start. I'm so glad that we've just quit our jobs and sold our apartment and given up on everything for this.
so yeah, we did what any sane person would do. We jumped back in the car. We drove to the top of the nearest hill. And then we actually have it on video. There's a moment I'm holding my phone with this tiny little Facebook conversation picture of a boat. And I'm staring out, hanging onto a flagpole and leaning out off a cliff, scanning the bay and going, well, that one kind of looks like the picture. And eventually we did find the boat in a completely different part of the island.
But it was real. It existed. We weren't those fools that you read about in trashy magazines who completely got scammed. Well, not quite yet, anyway.
Not yet. We did get there. And then, yeah, essentially we ended up living on the boat for a couple of weeks. I think we ended up doing...
We were actually on the boat for 2 months. This guy was like, well, I can't be there, but while you're having a look at the boat, you're going to need somewhere to live. So yeah, go for it. And if you want to take it for a sail, like, that's not a problem. Just, go test sail it yourselves. I've never met you. I have no idea if you have any qualifications or know what you're doing at all, but it'll probably be fine. So off we went. We had a couple of weeks cruising around the Grenadines, which are one of my favorite parts of the world to sail in.
A free 2-month charter. Like, think of it that way. It's like, we're basically just chucked on a boat, bare boat, take it away. We sailed from St. Vincent down to Union Island, which is the last island in the Grenadines. We hung out there waiting for the quarantine rules to change in Grenada, because we knew that they were thinking of changing. The rumor was going around. And so we basically waited, and we were the first boat allowed back into Grenada without the need to quarantine. So we just arrived. Well, there's a bit of a twist to that part of the story. We called up the guy the day that we were ready to go to Grenada, said, hey, we're ready to check out. Where are the boat papers to, officially take the boat out the country? And he said, oh, they're not on the boat. Well, I mean, okay, give me half an hour. Disappeared and called us back. And he calls us back and says, yeah, the boat papers, they're with this guy. I don't know him, but apparently his name is Sebastian. He's somewhere on the island. So just head into town, jump in a taxi and say, take me to Seb's house. So we did. And we got in a taxi, and fun enough, take me to Seb's house worked. We got taken to Seb's house. The guy had dengue fever, so it felt really bad for him. And he came crawling out with these sort of crumpled up pink papers in hand and went, yeah, here you go away. And we went and checked out the airport, got back on board. We're like, cool, yeah, we're ready to go. Spoke to the guy who owned the boat again. Yeah, we're about to lift anchor. He went, oh, actually, if you just look where you are in the bay you're in, just look over your shoulder. And there's another boat there. You see that boat, the Leopard 46? We were on a Leopard 47, both kind of older cats. But yeah, that 46, that's mine as well. Any chance you could just take a boat each? Because I need them both in Grenada anyway.
One of you do one of you do the other. Yeah,
Good grief.
easy peasy.
Yeah. I had spent, in fact, we both spent a full 10 days on a catamaran before, so we said yes.
No problem.
And there we go, one boat each, arriving to Grenada, hauled about. So yeah, I mean, he was an absolute fool for trusting us with anything without having. Yeah, I was going to say without meeting us, but even if he had met us, he would still be a fool for trusting us.
Yeah. And then yes, we literally hauled out onto the hard 2 boats, both of his catamarans, got them chalked, locked, sat living in one on the hard for a couple of weeks as we did all the survey stuff. And because we'd been on it for so long, we discovered all the problems. And so when it came to the kind of negotiations, we're like, you know what? Yeah, we talked about price, but we found all these issues. Like, both the engines don't work, the mainsail's dead, all ripped and torn. And he was like, oh, no, you don't need engines for a sailboat. I was like, well, what about the mainsail? I've done charters on just a Genoa, he says, and wouldn't shift his price. He refused to change the price.
So the negotiations just came completely crashing down in one instant. And then that was it. We had no boat. He kicked us off. We had to go find somewhere else to live. We were like, oh, well, that dream didn't really pan out. But hey ho, we had a nice time anyway.
Oh, good.
So that was how we didn't actually buy a boat.
Yeah, that's how we didn't. We then ended up homeless for a while and backpacked our way around the Caribbean, and eventually we did find a boat. And that story is, I can go on for another hour on that story.
Okay, but okay, so now we've got you at least eventually get a boat.
We do. We're not now living on someone else's boat that we've just pinched.
We backpacked, we lived in a shipping container, we made it to USVI, and then at last minute we made a deal on a boat that was kind of between BVI and USVI. And so we're standing in USVI in Red Hook Marina. I have to tell you this part of the story because I like it. We're standing in Red Hook Marina at the slip. A couple of marina dock hands have come down to give us a hand because we're all naive and excited. And we wave at the guy as he takes the boat into the marina. And we're on the phone to him, I think, at this point. We're like, hey, we got you a slip. It's right here. We're ready to catch your lines. Just bring it on in. And he goes straight past the slip and then crashes it into the concrete fuel dock. On the phone says to Barney, you're probably going to need some fenders. Haha, bye. Hangs up, jumps into a speedboat and leaves the country. We've never met the guy.
Oh my God. Why do you have the most insane interactions? This is... Holy cow.
It's the red hair.
It has to be. We're foolish. I don't know.
This is...
And that was the happy day we brought up. Everyone has the same story, right?
Cheers to you all.
Thank you.
Yay.
It's a bar.
Oh my God.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so you're in the Caribbean, pretty far to the east, and you managed to get to Panama through the canal, and now you've crossed the Pacific Ocean, and you're in Tahiti, which is bonkers. But now you've got new drama. And
oh no, the drama's just been there all the way along. This is nothing new. It's just a constant in our lives.
That's it. This is standard.
I mean,
we'll skip over a whole pile of fun stories.
Yeah, we weren't telling you about the running aground and the hit and run and the owing the Venezuelan mafia. But it's fine. No, Tahiti, right.
Tahiti's great. Yeah, we love it.
well, I mean, I'm just worried about you all in Tahiti because you are redheads. Like, I'm worried about your sun exposure. Like, these are the things I'm panicking about, but you're telling me shit that's like orders of magnitude more devastating, and I'm having a hard time catching up because immediately I'm just worried for you all, and you're just making it worse.
Like my mom.
Each scenario sounds like a hold my beer story.
Right?
But wait, there's more.
With each episode on our channel.
That's it. And then
It's completely bonkers.
I wonder.
I mean, I'll be honest. There's a bit of me wondering, like, we got to the South Pacific, right? We get to Tahiti and all the remote islands down here, and my brain went straight to those pictures, like Jack Sparrow when he becomes a god in a remote island. I'm like, redhead on fire, white guys turn up. I thought there'd be at least a chance of some cool face paint and a throne, but so far,
we nearly had that here in Colombia. Was like a real weird thing. Everywhere we went, people would literally stop and stare at us, and then a whole school trip who were out visiting this castle stopped us without speaking any English, mobbed us,
like 40 kids,
chatted in our very broken Spanish, and then all 40 of them queued up for a selfie with us before they got on the bus home. We have no idea why.
Not a clue.
I think we do.
I mean, you guys are clearly YouTube famous.
Oh yeah, that's what that is.
Yeah, we're massive in Colombia.
Massive in small villages in the remote parts of Colombia.
So speaking of YouTube famous, though, you all won at this year's Annapolis Boat Show Cruisers Award, which is you mean that award behind you? But let me explain this to people that have no idea what the heck I'm talking about. So we love boat shows. I love all kinds of boat shows, but the Super Bowl of cruising YouTuber shenanigans, the people who take their boats around the world and film it and put it on the internet for your enjoyment and creepiness are the ones that show up to Annapolis and then they give each other awards for it. And I love it. I'm a huge fan. We all dress up. It's great. It's a great time. I don't belong there. Ed doesn't belong there. But we come anyway.
But you were doing, you hosted one of the awards.
Wait, do you all know this story? So
no.
So I was originally in the running for that award, and I had gotten enough votes to be one of the finalists. And they called me up and they're like, hey, so water person of the year. I was like, yeah, who's wetter than I am? Like, this is great. They're like, yeah, well, we meant that to be for people who use their boat to get to places to do a sport. What? It's a sham. Like surfing or spearfishing or free diving.
Drinking.
Competitive drinking. I would win every time. I'm sorry. Any port, I would beat every single one of the other nominees. But
how many ports rum, vodka. I'm sure all of them.
But yeah, so they were like, hey, so, like, I was like, oh, well, okay, can I give the award away? And they were so nice. They were like, yeah, sure, no problem.
Oh, awesome.
Great.
Oh, why didn't you just walk up there and be like, the finalists are, it's just me, thanks. And walk off.
I couldn't, because that award show is so well produced. They have this great video thing that happens.
Yeah, they really went for it. It was pretty impressive. We were like shaking with the excitement of the whole thing. I had, a very odd evening. And then they kept doing those, they do like the finalists, right? The 3 finalists had their whole intro with that cool Hollywood voice announcing people. Amazingly, he got our name right, Red Seas, which was great. But we had like 2 other channels in the running with us, and they were Spanish. One of them was Spanish or Portuguese. And apparently there was a lot of consultation about how to say their name. But like, it's a proper Hollywood event. Like, it feels like the BAFTAs.
Oh yeah, it's all glitz and glamour.
Yeah, you guys looked great.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
compared to like what we're used to, it just
stop! Say it again.
You guys looked fantastic. Well, she did. She actually put on a dress and made an effort.
I was gonna say.
I wasn't looking at you.
Hours.
Wow.
At least 4 minutes.
What's wrong with a hoodie? Hoodie and jeans. I wore jeans.
I was just pissed off that you didn't wear a kilt or
true.
something like that. That seems like a mistake.
Didn't you?
Well, we have a kilt on the boat, and we have a
Didn't
kilt.
you wear one at Southampton?
Did we wear kilts?
No, because we were in Southampton and then we went up to Scotland where Ian's kilt is
hiding.
So we didn't have it with us.
Before, so Annapolis, the Super Bowl, we had like a warm up. So
Semi-final.
we'd actually been on the road away from the boat. Yeah, it felt like that. Like, it really did. We'd left like a month and a half before.
Yeah, a month before.
A month before we left the boat here in Tahiti, flew back to the UK for Southampton International Boat Show, which is like the biggest floating boat show in Europe, I think, or something like that.
Water, yeah.
And we were doing like presentations there on their stage and getting to feel all pretend famous for 5 minutes. It was very cool. And then we went from there back to Scotland, and we did like a bunch of yacht clubs, and we did the same, pretend to be famous for 5 minutes to a bunch of people in rooms who didn't know us. And then we went to Annapolis. So by the time we got there, we were like road ready but exhausted. So we were just in a haze the whole time. And Annapolis is like non-stop.
Yeah, that was absolutely crazy. And everybody got sick. Like, I'm just about recovered, but I still think I'm getting over it now. Like, it was just, all mad, everybody just firing, like all guns blazing, just, it's awesome though.
4 hours sleep a night, that's what you need, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, people go really hard, and there are so many events, and I'm always so impressed by the Annapolis Boat Show. But I was really excited to see you all doing other boat shows, because like I said, I am obsessed with boat shows. It's just like my addiction personally, because we don't just talk to sailing YouTube cruisers. We also talk to, crab fishermen and oil spill cleanup guys, and we talk to all kinds of weird people that have something to do with boats. So like, I don't care what kind of boat it is. I'm just excited to talk about it. So let's talk about your boat and how you've decorated her for the holidays. That's so cute.
That's all Briny. I take no responsibility for this.
I am a bit Christmas mad. I think it might be more so like, obviously we're far away from family, and just a couple of months ago we flew home for the first time in 3 years since we had left. So it's like, I want to really make sure that we're not kind of super homesick and missing everybody. So I'm like, I'm just going to go overboard on decorations and making things, and it will be lovely.
Well, I love the snow globe. I really like the snow globe there.
That's it. Yeah, it's got a nice vibe to it. I think to give people who are listening to an idea, basically Briny has decorated our entire saloon actually with like, what's that called? Like foam wadding.
Looks like felt.
I don't know what you call it. Like
white felt.
Yeah, let's call it felt. It's like the inside of a cushion being ripped up into what looks like dripping snow all over the shelves. We have our homemade advent calendar, which are these little bags of fabric from everywhere we've traveled. So everyone
I
buy
half a meter of fabric from every country that we have sailed to, and then when I make stuff on the boat, it like reminds us of all the places that we've been. So it's like a little tour of everywhere we've sailed.
And then when we open said little bag, we have these little 3D printed clips that we made. We have a 3D printer on the boat, so we 3D printed some little Christmas tree tags. And then inside the bag is the name of somebody we get to think about for the entire day. So this is my grandparents. It's quite nice.
Nice.
So,
That is the sweetest thing ever.
So-
Ew.
no, icky, right?
Gross.
Thoughtfulness.
That's not
Ew.
bikinis in Tahiti. What are we doing?
We're doing it wrong. See, I knew we were doing it wrong. I want to get my bikini.
Go for it.
There you go. There's the aren't they cuddly part of the show. Now everyone knows. We have a sauce.
Now,
So
Oh, yeah.
if I could ask, on your, because you are where I want to get to, as far as traveling
Hurry
right
up.
now, by boat. In your foray from Panama to the Marquesas, what was like the highlight and / maybe the not so highlight of your trip there? Like, is there a
Just relive
particular
this
thing that you're like, this is
PTSD.
awesome and this is not so awesome?
Do we have to pick one awesome thing, and are we only allowed to pick one thing that went wrong?
To sell the lifestyle, maybe.
Yeah, good shout. Okay, well, I'm going to start with the good bits.
Yeah.
'Cause there's quite a lot. So we set off from Panama. So when you leave from Panama aiming for this part of the world, generally most people will head south to get through the doldrums or the ITC-Z or Z, depending where you're from in the world.
Mhm.
So basically, that's like 6 days of zero wind, a couple hundred to 1,000 miles offshore. It's mill pond flat, and you just burn diesel and you try and get yourself as far south as you can, slightly fighting the Humble Current, which is pushing you back up. And the goal is once you get south past, like in line with Ecuador almost, you can kind of swing a right. And at that point, you can pick up the trade winds that are going to take you on the coconut milk run all the way out here. It's going to be a breeze, super easy, sit back, relax. So yeah, to sell the good parts, when we set off from Panama, we had some decent wind. We hit those doldrums and we just screwed around and had fun. We got to the equator and we did like halyard swings off the mast to go for a swim. We cleaned the bottom.
Yeah, I had a visit from Wales, like outside Galapagos. All these
Whales and
pilot waves
dolphins.
came, like hung out with us at sunset, just like right next to the boat, in no hurry to leave.
Yeah,
It was,
like
just incredible.
200 spinner dolphins came charging past us one day, like jumping 8-10 feet out there in their twists and stuff.
Incredible.
Absolutely magical sail, like beautiful experience and super simple because it's like you just crank on the engines, sit back, and when it's quiet and boring, you press play on Breaking Bad, and when something good is happening, you hit pause and grab the camera. So it was pretty sweet. We did have one slight incident in that part of the journey that I like to tell people out, and Brian hates me mentioning.
I remember saying I didn't film this so that we didn't ever have to tell this story, and I think now
I tell
Ian's
everyone
just
this
taken
story.
it upon himself to tell everybody that we meet. Great.
Justice must be served.
And now I think if I had filmed it, I
Yeah,
would have
probably
proven
not.
my innocence.
No. So we're maybe like 4 days into the doldrums, super flat, chilled out. Brownie's on shift, and I happen to be sitting out in the bows just catching some sun. I'm like, hey! Oh, catching sun with sunscreen on, obviously. And I'm like, hey, I think I see a turtle just ahead of us. And Brownie hears there's a turtle ahead of us. So
So I
she,
grabbed the camera and I'm like, oh, cool, we'll film a turtle. This is going to be cute.
as she does, she's coming up the side of the boat to come join me. And at that point, like, we're kind of, it's very close at thunk. And we just completely do a hit and run on this giant green sea turtle. Who was just like snoozing on the surface. He wakes up in a start and kind of does like circles, kind of confused where he is in the world, like what the, and then disappears off in the wrong direction, I reckon. So Brownie did a hit and run, and then we fled into international waters.
I still maintain that the turtle had an entire ocean and he should have heard us coming and could have gone anywhere.
oh man,
Can you
I
imagine?
am so sorry that happened to you all. That turtle's a dick.
Actually, it was not as bad as it sounds because we weren't motoring. We had been sailing with the spinnaker, and then the wind had died so much that we had socked the spinnaker. We hadn't yet put out any of the sails or the engine, so we must have been going like 1 knot. So the turtle was fine. It was like a bump, a nudge.
Gentle nudge out the way, like you might do in a parking lot. When you hear that scratching noise as you push it.
I park by feel. Don't worry about it.
I can hear the turtle telling all his other turtle friends. So there I was, in the middle of nowhere, taking a nap.
There you go.
Yeah. But That's why every time I've seen a turtle since then, they've all like gone, turned and fled.
Your photo is on Turtle Facebook.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness! So
Yeah,
did you
so
both get
then
a
we
turtle
took it,
tattoo, or just and then put a mark down underneath of it, like one?
No, because I thought they might think that was a wanted thing. I didn't want to cause any more
She just
trouble.
has one teardrop tattoo now.
One little turtle.
One to the bank. So yeah, and then we managed to we call our spinnaker the Kraken, because it emerges from the ocean.
Yeah.
And the Kraken actually came on the boat. It wasn't on the inventory, so we kind of feel it's technically free.
Yeah.
So it's ancient and like stained and full of holes, but we would fly the Kraken anyway. So we got like some decent speed. We were flying along and sort of settling into this whole trade wind malarkey. Although it's El Nino this year, so there isn't much good trade winds. It's kind of confused. All was going well until one night when we saw another catchman, I think, was overtaking us. This guy was like on a burner. I think he might have been on the Ark rally, and he was just determined to get past us. So from like 8 miles off our starboard side, way behind us, he decided he had to pass on our port side no matter what. So he kind of cut up behind us. And in doing so, basically, we got distracted and didn't realize a squall was coming in. So with one hand on the sock dowsing line to pull the Kraken down and sock it, one hand on it, just about to pull it down, the Kraken just had this great zip noise and split into two. Yeah, that sucked.
Death of the Kraken. So the rest of our journey just basically doubled in time because we only had our poor old Genoa to get us the rest of the way. So we're like, oh, well, that's still in.
That's a bit more Breaking Bad was what.
Well, so you all were not alone in terms of the tubers, the tubists, the YouTubists, whatever, that were crossing during the season to get. Yeah, YouTubist. Get over it. I think it sounds right. Who is that? I'll kill you. No problem.
I'm going to pause there 1 second. I'm just going to stop the camera, start it again.
Yeah, rerun that YouTubist line. We don't want to mess up this camera a second time because that card drove me nuts.
I'm less worried this time because I'm actually recording in multiple ways as well. So,
sorry.
Yeah, it's all good.
Oh, okay. Cool.
No. That's why my camera to you all looks shittier, because I've got a lot more.
Right.
Gotcha.
I got a lot more going on this time. Boom, boom.
I'm just the reason why I look shitty. So
yeah, well, that's not true. He actually has a very, very helpful.
Great in 8K.
Tech? No, that's not what I want to. That's not the word for it. A PA, audio visual assistant.
She keeps me straight.
Wow, you guys are going up in the world.
It's his wife. She's fantastic. I love her.
Yeah, the Admiral.
The Admiral. Mine's just a cabin boy. Speaking of, cabin boy.
No.
I've run aground once more.
No, that's not true. I love my engineer. Anyway, what was I babbling about?
Other tubers.
YouTubists.
Oh, yeah.
We weren't alone.
So there were lots of these YouTubists that happened to be heading that direction across the Pacific around the same time you guys were, but they all did it in like roughly 30-ish days.
Don't rub it in.
No. This is me being impressed with you all.
I liked you.
Because they also a lot of them did it with a lot more crew than you as well.
A whole lot. Especially Colin.
There was like a huge range of. Yeah.
He had like an army of 50 people. We spoke to them actually when they got to the other side, and I think they all had to do like 2-hour shifts. They were doing 2-hour shifts.
So there were 8 of them on that boat, and so they paired up. So there were only 4 groups, and then they just did 2-hour shifts. So it was a 2-hour shift with somebody else. So we told them that their crossing didn't count.
Yeah, and they set off from Mexico, so that's like 1,000 miles less as well. So it's cheating. You know?
Yeah, a lot of the channels crossed from Mexico this year. It feels like everybody that we met when we arrived in the Marquesas over at this side, everybody who sailed from Mexico was like, wow, that was such a great crossing. We had such a lovely time. Weather was amazing. And everybody who crossed from Panama was like, woo, that was a slog. And everything went wrong. And the weather wasn't what everyone was expecting. It was, everyone was regretting not leaving from the right place.
It wasn't Panama's year for sure. So yeah, we ended up taking, I'm going to say 40. It's 39 and a half days. But,
That's pretty good.
40 days. So 40 days at sea with just the two of us doing 8-hour shifts. So we'd just alternate for 40 days non-stop, 8 hours on, 8 hours ish. Because we kind of blurred that middle shift sometimes. It's pretty hectic.
I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
You got to do what you got to do, but I was very impressed by it. I was very impressed that you guys ended up on the other side, but I was also really impressed that you all were putting content out while you were doing that.
Yeah. That's so okay. We're using Starlink for this today. Starlink has been phenomenal for us.
Yeah.
Like we got it quite early on back in the Caribbean before it was really allowed to be in the Caribbean. One of our patrons was kind enough to receive the package in Oregon, and then they shipped it down to us in St. Martin, and we started using it, kind of using their address. And then since then, like we've done like live streams, we've done podcasts, we did lots of stuff with Andy and
we did a podcast like the day that we crossed the equator.
Live
on our
streams.
Pacific crossing. And we had to apologize because halfway through some dolphins came by. We were like, sorry, wait right there. We want to go and watch.
So that
nuts, But yeah,
that is one of those things that happens though when you are crossing an ocean, right? The what becomes important changes drastically. So
unbelievable.
A pod of dolphins is a big deal.
Yeah.
It's like, it might be the only exciting thing that happens that week. So you've got to like lean into it. Or, you might hit one of them if they're sleeping and they get in the way of your bow when you're going on not. So you need to pay attention. But like time passes so differently when everything in your normal like weekly routine is just completely gone out of the window because it's just about rest enough time when you're not on watch so that you can stay awake for your shift. And then as long as you're awake and the boat's happy and moving forward, well, you can do whatever you like with that time. So I think
we made we made an episode a week while we were at sea, and we did some live streams for patrons and stuff because we wanted to show what was really happening, and like slow TV, we did that as well.
We lucked out because we crossed the Pacific before Starlink really thought about whether cruises were using Starlink underway, and so like the week after we arrived, they locked it down and said, "Oh, you've got to pay by the gigabyte, and it's crazy expensive, and people have racked up these huge bills." We crossed it before they cared if that's what you were using it for, and so we didn't pay any more to be using it in the middle of the ocean underway, and so now we can't use that function because
it's costing way too much.
We don't
to
do that. But
we were on like the land-based package, and we crossed 4,000 miles across the Pacific.
Wow.
I'm like, they're not asking. It's fine. We're in Oregon, honestly.
Incredible, just completely incredible. You guys are. I'm very, very impressed at everything you've accomplished, and I really like it as a. People get very intimidated by this whole boat floating thing, and you can learn a lot in a short amount of time if you just throw yourself at it. And I feel like you guys really have. It helps that you had a little bit of sailing experience beforehand, but I'm just, big blue water cruising is about what you're capable of. And frankly, and
you learn what you're capable of.
Yeah.
Like, for sure. Because there's stuff that happened on our passage we haven't even talked about that were proper testing moments.
For sure. And I mean, when we started out, I never thought I would cross an ocean. I thought that was way too much of a challenge. And then we met people who had sailed around the South Pacific, and they talked about how incredible it was. And the South Pacific was always like such a bucket list part of the world for me.
Yeah.
Like from growing up as a child, I was like, it seems so far away and so remote and different culturally and everything.
Hey, and they have grass skirts and coconuts.
Yeah, that's why I want to go.
That's incredible.
And so suddenly we started looking at like, well, is this possible? What would it take for us to do that? And then the challenge in itself was so much more than we had bargained for. But the fact that we did it and we are still looking to do it again.
You're right.
Continue to do.
I mean, maybe not.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But it's like you say, taking it on, like, so I'd sailed a bit in the west coast of Scotland. That was a thing for me. And we did it as well a little bit before we decided to do this.
Yeah.
But it was kind of one of those things where we kept it under wraps. We didn't tell anyone this was our plan until we'd sold our apartment and all our belongings. And then we told people pretty much during COVID, the people we happened to talk to on Zoom.
Yeah, because we didn't want to be those people who are like, you know what? I'm going to do this really cool thing. I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to do this thing. Did you know I'm going to do this thing? And then never do it.
Yeah, and to people to know is you may as well say you're going to be an astronaut, because to them they're like, why would you want to live on a boat? When I first asked Bryony, should we go live in a boat? Her answer was, I hate boats. So
yeah, stupid idea.
So it's kind of evolved and taken its own turn in the journey. And, now we with the crossing, we had like sails explode. We had engines literally die. We're now down an engine entirely. We lost our steering in the middle of the night in the middle of a massive storm. And all of that, you kind of you figure it out, right?
You have to. You don't
it's more about an
have any
attitude.
other choice. Yeah.
It's the attitude to take on the challenge and say, screw it, I'll survive somehow.
Okay.
Yeah.
This reminds me of a story, though. and that story goes something along the lines of everything is totally boned. And, I didn't have the capacity to be nice about it. But you all seem to still be married. So...
Hanging the bruises under the t-shirt.
Well, what would you say to a couple that is planning to do the same shenanigans as you all in terms of throwing themselves at a big project like this?
In those moments where everything is going wrong and you've just got to deal with it, it doesn't matter how you're feeling. It was only the two of us on the boat, so we're on the same team to work through this. And when you're at that critical moment, it was never a question anyway. But, there's going to be stages before that where you're like short on sleep or something gone wrong for the 5th time in a row and things like that. But
oh, yeah, we didn't mention the bowsprit got ripped off the boat 4 times in a row. That was not a good day for me.
There were days
I'm sorry.
where...
Nope. Stop. Stop. Is he kidding? I'm dead serious. Is he kidding?
I didn't mean to interrupt anybody.
No, that happened.
That happened. It was kind of annoying. We stopped repairing it because we ran out of rivets.
Yeah.
We built.
I'm sorry, Brian.
I'm
sorry. I need to understand.
So okay, and tied to this, what do you tell people who want to go do it? They'll never have enough budget. That's the core thing.
Yeah.
And we don't. We live pretty hand to mouth on bread that we make. But we wanted to put a bowsprit on our boat. We didn't have one, and I was like, I think we can do this. So we did the most logical thing. We basically found a sunken boat that looked very
vaguely similar to the boat that we have.
Bit smaller. And then we stole there's a piece of metal called the compression post, which is kind of between the two hulls, and it squeezes that crossbar back onto the boat. Well, it's roughly the right size and length to use as a bowsprit. So we got this off this sunken wreck. We kind of modified the bracketry a bit. We put it on and measured it. And the best part is it's exactly the right length compared to what Sparcraft would sell me for like $2,000.
And then at anchor, we just drilled a hole through our hull on either bow.
For the bobstays.
And then tied some bobstays down.
With Dyneema that we spliced ourselves that we think is strong enough.
I think it's fine.
Yeah, and then we kind of put it all together and riveted this thing onto the crossbar.
And then we got a free sail that was supposed to be a Genoa, but for a 65-foot catamaran, and we're only 47-foot, so we thought it would probably fit. And then we didn't test it until we were halfway across
We didn't
the
even
Pacific.
rig the thing up until we were about 2 weeks onto the passage, and we thought, we should really try that sail, because it was annoying that it was on the deck. So we kind of set it up and furled it underway. And then it worked. It worked really, really well.
The first time it was terrifying. We forgot to cleat the furling line, and so we got it halfway hoisted, and the whole thing unraveled, and we had to ditch it in the sea. And we were like, "Oh my goodness, bring the heart rate down. It's fine. Why did we do that thousands of miles from land with no boats in sight? That was idiotic. Oh well, let's try again tomorrow."
And we did, and then it worked. I'm going to stand by the fact that my guesstimate measurement.
This is such a freaky part of his brain. Ian can do this thing where he looks with his eyes at something in 3D space and goes,
16 meters, 85
Oh
centimeters.
my God.
Yeah. And it was. So we managed to get the measurements spot on. We made our own kind of torsion line using some Dyneema we had on board, and that worked well. It flew great, except that when we hit a couple of squalls and we tried to put it away, the bowsprit the action of the heavy sail furled up on a bowsprit that's hinged didn't play so well, and it would rip the rivets out of the crossbar. So the bowsprit would just rip itself free. So we used up all the rivets we had repairing this thing like over and over again, and then ran out of rivets and said, screw it, we don't have that option. Which in the end was a good thing. Because
I'm going to interrupt you for just a second. We don't just... okay. I've been listening to this story for a while now.
This is just a Tuesday.
And if you've been watching the video version of this, you'll notice there's this vein in my forehead that's popping out really bad because I'm so stressed out hearing this story. And like, of all the things they've said so far, like this is Tuesday. One that's like totally this vein right here is going for it. But I need to put some context around this. So I do both power and sail, but a lot of my power boaters don't really understand what you're talking about in terms of the bowsprit.
Of course.
The bowsprit being this extra piece of the boat that sticks out off the bow of the boat, and it's usually the staging point for your head sails, meaning the forward sails of the boat. So there's some surprising pressure right there. There's also it has consequences for the rest of the boat, which is why.
Yeah. I mean, there's a chance if you do it wrong, like the whole mast will come down.
Yeah, that's why the vein in my forehead is popping out so bad right now. Like,
also with a catamaran, we don't have what's called a backstay.
Right.
So
yeah,
most like traditional monohull sailboats will have a metal wire going forward, which usually has that foresail on it, and a metal wire going back, one or two, which kind of supports the triangular shape to hold everything up. Cats don't have that backstay usually, and we don't. So when you put that extra force on the forestay, the front of the boat, you kind of have to just hope and pray that it's not too much. It just doesn't pull everything forward. So that was like 2,000 miles off Galapagos, I think we did that.
Something like that, yeah.
The thing about that story I really liked was that it worked fantastically the first time we did it.
Yeah!
We got like at least 3 hours of beautiful sailing.
Got a great photo. Got a really nice photo, perfectly framed, looks really good. And it didn't.
Well, how did you know you would be this resourceful? Because one of the most important things I think for anybody who is planning to set out and do some of these big trips is you have to be able to make your own repairs, and you've got to be able to do them in sort of unorthodox ways, which is why like I'm too crusty and professional at this point that I would have a really hard time doing it not the way it's supposed to be. I'll get us to the next port, but I'm not gonna.
I mean, technically that's what we were doing, right?
I guess so. Yeah.
Just happened to be the next port was 4,000 miles away. That's all.
I mean, it did become a nightly like ritual that we would tell ourselves, if the raft Kon-Tiki could do this in 1947 and they could drift their way across the Pacific Ocean, then we can.
Yeah.
And there were days when we were like, we're not that far off.
Yeah, we were pretty borderline at times. And ironically, we've since been to the point that Kon-Tiki ran aground at this end of the.
Where they actually arrived.
We've seen the plaque and the flags and stuff.
Oh, that was a moment.
We felt a special connection with that guy.
We all did it, guys.
I love that.
Like in answer to the resourcefulness, it's like it's a difficult to answer because like I've always been a bit like that.
I was gonna say you've always had that kind of approach of we'll just figure it out. I think also like by meeting other sailors, you hear the stories of how they got through situations. And for about a year, once we decided that we were going to cross an ocean, I knew that was a skill that I would have to learn. And so like every time we had like a little tiny hiccup, I would say like, oh wait, don't fix it straight away. Give me like 30 seconds to try and think of, right, what else do we have on the boat? So like with the steering cable, okay, it's snapped. We now can't use it. We don't have a spare steering cable on the boat, but what do we have that could perform the same function?
So like lifelines on the side of the boat would be an option because they're skinny metal wires that run around the outside, but they're not really rated for the pressures of two rudders in the big ocean. So, and they might not be long enough and they might not be perfect size.
And it was like, it doesn't need to have all of the features of a steering cable. It just has to have enough that we can arrive safely in the same way that, okay, we've lost an engine, but we need to be able to anchor in this really dodgy, super tight anchorage. Well, we have an outboard on the dinghy, so we'll use that and we'll tie the dinghy on and we'll make a bridle and we'll drag the boat backwards. And it was like, it doesn't need to do everything that the thing that's broken has done, but what do I need to do as a minimum to get the boat to be safe? And so I had a lot of practice in practicing that skill of like figuring out, well, what do we have on the boat? And how can we use that to repair whatever is that's broken?
It's probably not a good thing that we had a lot of practice. It sounds like a good thing. It's from a bad thing.
So you're the floating Scottish MacGyvers of the South Pacific.
Wow, that is a title.
Who have given us that nickname since seeing our Pacific crossover, we're like, oh.
You put the Mac in the MacGyver.
There you go. How long have you boiling that one up for? You can think about that.
Perfection.
Oh my god.
So yeah, you just improvise. And I keep saying you can do an awful lot with like 100 meters of Dyneema and some duct tape. You can do a lot.
Oh yeah.
And actually,
and one time when we were working in our companionway, we accidentally dropped a roll of duct tape in built, and we've never been able to get it back, but I know it's there if we need it in an emergency.
Oh my Lord.
Reserve.
And on that note, I've loved having you guys on board. This was completely fantastic and ridiculous. Thank you all. I know we gave you guys a hard time for missing us at the boat show. But thank you for doing this. Thank you for hanging with us.
I'm gonna have a
come on.
I'm gonna get yeah, I'm not gonna
you
take
know what's coming.
You know what's coming here.
This
wasn't our fault we didn't make a podcast at the boat show. It wasn't us who missed out. Your loyal companion there may have captured us for 5 hours at a very loud party
The night before.
What? Sorry. Okay, let me tell you my perspective on this. My perspective is, I said, hey guys, you should come to this booth at this time and we'll do a podcast at the show. It'll be amazing and wonderful.
That'd be amazing.
And then like 20 minutes before, I'm like, hey, those guys haven't responded to me in a while. Are they going to show up? And it's like, I don't know.
We were
what the hell, Ed?
broken because, Ed.
Hey, we had a good time, didn't we? We had a good time Saturday night.
It was great. It was an absolute blast. We had literally, it felt like 3-5 hours, loud music blaring at bacon sales. Everyone was having a wonderful time. We talked nonstop, and then we woke up and whenever it was that time in the morning, and I was like, I sounded like I died.
Oh, we literally had zero voice whatsoever. We were using sign language all day, which may have helped with the accent of the captions. I don't know.
True, that could have been. You could do that interpreted. What's the transcript person on TV? A boy walks into a room. He opens a bag. We'd have to have somebody doing that the entire time. 2 redhead people arrive at a boat show, slightly sunburned.
Oh my goodness, you all are so fantastic. I'm so glad we got to do this. I'm sorry about the last time we tried to do this and the internet just didn't want to cooperate and my setup over here didn't want to cooperate, but thank you again for doing this. It was absolutely delightful. I love hearing about your adventures. Can you give us your handles and all that good stuff? How do people find you if they want to follow your adventures?
Well, you want to follow our adventures because all of this, you have to check if it's true.
Absolutely. I'm expecting nobody to believe a word that we've said, but you can see it all on video. Every Sunday we release an episode on YouTube. Our channel is called Sailing Red Seas. And then social media as well. We've got a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, so you can go on Instagram and Facebook. We're at Real Red Seas. I don't really know why. But yeah, so Sailing Red Seas on YouTube or Real Red Seas on socials. I don't know, come knock on the side of the boat. We have the boat name on there, Indioko. So if you see us, come say hi. We like to meet people.
Oh, I realize that's...
Look for the turtle.
Unless you're a turtle, then run. Just run.
Hey, I'll keep Brandy in a cabin. You're like a misbehaving dog. I'm like, you go inside, I'll say hi to them. It's all good.
All right. This has been the Funny Boat Podcast. I'm running away. Yeah, bon voyage. You absolute nutballs. I love it.
Dude, thank you so much. Thank you guys.
Awesome. And cut.
Fantastic.